I'm also the CEO of Contemporary Consulting, an ICT integration consulting firm. So I'm a member of the business constituency of the commercial stakeholder group and of the generic name supporting organization of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN. There are a lot of businesses that are going online these days, and many of them are in the developing countries, where I come from, and least developed countries. So the business constituencies of ICANN want to reach out to businesses in other regions of the world to be aware of what we are doing. We need to be sure that the policies that ICANN develop, is consistent with the fact that the internet remains stable, remain trustworthy, and is a competitive platform for new domains to evolve, just as we are experiencing, the new domain regimes now in the ICANN ecosystem. So we need to reach out to many others like myself, CEOs of reputable organizations that are very, very active on the internet, but they do not appreciate the fact that we need to remain consistent. The internet needs to remain consistent to deliver the goods for the large majority of the people. Business is about, making some profit to sustain, life and jobs and what have you. And so we should be interested in the future direction of ICANN, because that is ensuring that any policy regime we have till the direction where the internet will go. And so that is why this important platform and opportunity to engage my colleagues elsewhere that, yes, why not? Come join us in the business constituency. Now is the time to be involved, be engaged. The survivability of your business is at stake. Internet requires your input for it to deliver the benefits for you, for your business, for your shareholders moving forward.
What does ICANN do? To reach another person on the internet, you type an address into your device, a name or a number. That address must be unique so computers know where to find each other. ICANN maintains and administers these unique identifiers across the world. Without ICANN's management of this system, the domain name system, or DNS as it's known, we wouldn't have a global, scalable internet where we can. Within ICANN's multi-stakeholder model, civil society and internet users, the private sector, national and international organizations, governments, research, academic and technical communities are all represented. ICANN's community-driven policy. To keep pace with dynamic technologies and rapid innovation, ICANN enables consensus-driven, multi-stakeholder policy development with broad representation from the global internet community. Competition and choice. From accrediting over 1,000 registrars to introducing new top-level domains, ICANN works to expand consumer choice by fostering competition and innovation in the domain name marketplace. Which functions does ICANN coordinate? The domain name system, Internet Protocol Address Allocation, the Protocol Parameter Registry, root server systems, generic top-level domain name system management, country code top-level domain name DNS, and time zone database management. Security and stability. ICANN supports DNS security through technical training and engagement, coordinating and collaborating with the community in the implementation of standards such as DNSSEC. Interoperability. ICANN's work enables new technologies to flourish while maintaining interoperability across the global internet. For example, management of the unique protocol identifiers allows communication using secure connections between users. Contractual compliance. ICANN oversees the contracts it maintains and enforces consensus policies developed through the community-driven process. ICANN's contractual compliance function seeks to ensure compliance with the agreements and the consensus policies. Who's involved? A number of groups, each of which represents a different interest on the internet, with the board of directors. The supporting organizations on addressing, country code names, and generic names. The advisory committees, at large, governmental, the root server system, security and stability. And the technical advisory bodies, the technical liaison group, and the Internet Engineering Task Force. How do I participate? Sign up for updates at myicann.org. Join one of the many public comment forums on ICANN's website. Attend ICANN's public meetings in person or online to provide input at a public forum. Or join one of ICANN's supporting organizations or advisory committees.
Is domain abuse and help reduce victimization of online scams? Meet CleanDNS, your all-in-one solution for detecting, reporting, and rooting out domain abuse and harms in your portfolio. Managing abuse can be time-consuming and overwhelming on your own. We built CleanDNS specifically to address these challenges and make it so that any organization of any size with any connection to the domain name system can sign up and start taking action in as little as 24 hours. With standardized abuse reporting, built-in case management, the ability to directly integrate with your backend, and a dedicated staff working on your behalf, CleanDNS saves your organization time and money addressing abuse concerns while lowering your risk and improving your reputation. We work with GTLDs, CCTLDs, registrars, and hosting and infrastructure providers to streamline abuse management, as well as trusted reporters, cybersecurity companies, nonprofits, governments, and individuals as part of our completely free reporter program. Cleaning up the internet shouldn't clean out your budget. For as little as $500 a year, CleanDNS can fully manage your abuse program on behalf of your organization. Start a free 7-day trial of CleanDNS today, giving you a preview of the reports you would receive in our system and a consultation with our analysts. Don't wait for abuse to become a problem. Take action now. Visit cleandns.com today or contact us at hello@cleandns.email and join us in cleaning up the internet for good.
Ever pondered how technology can seamlessly blend with humans and processes? Well, the answer is not far-fetched. It's right here at Contemporary Consulting Limited. This is not just a company, it's a vibrant digital universe where innovation meets expertise. and where we have been lighting up the ICT sector for 3 fruitful decades. Located in the heart of Abuja, Nigeria, Contemporary Consulting Limited stands as a beacon of creativity. Our collaborations are as diverse as our expertise, spanning across the federal government of Nigeria, World Bank, and the European Union. Our mission is simple: to offer cutting-edge ICT consultancy services that are tailor-made to your needs. Are you seeking to enrich your IT knowledge and skills? We've got you covered. Do you need to integrate systems for seamless data and voice exchanges? We are there for you. Or perhaps you're looking to design online applications or fortify your cybersecurity? Look no further. At Contemporary Consulting Limited, we have a knack for turning complex situations into straightforward economical strategies. We believe in the power of technology to unlock access to critical information, wealth, and prosperity. And our goal is to use this power to create innovative technology and creative solutions that benefit our clients and stakeholders. But don't just take our word for it, discover it for yourself. For further details or queries, navigate your way to our website at www.contemporary.net.ng or dial Contemporary Consulting Limited, focused on performance.
Hello, I'm here today with Claudia Selli and Steve Del Bianco, members of ICANN's Commercial and Business Users Constituency. This is a group that sits within the commercial stakeholder group of the Generic Name Supporting Organization. And you're going to tell us a little bit about what the BC is about, your members, as well as the policy topics that you focus on, I think. So welcome. And I think the first thing we should cover is what is the BC? What is the role of the BC, your mission within the GNSO and ICANN?
The business constituency's mission is to look after the interests of businesses who register domain names and business customers and users who rely upon the domain name system to reach the websites and email addresses of the businesses that have created them. And we really look at 3 priorities. We want the domain name system to be so trustworthy that businesses and their customers can be confident that they're getting to the domain name they were actually seeking. We also want to be sure that there's competition amongst all the different suppliers who provide domain name registration and registry services. And finally, we look for a domain name system where the unique identifiers are secure, stable, and reliable.
Thank you, Steve. And I can imagine that that must span quite a lot of interests, countries, and topics. Perhaps we can talk a little bit about your membership, who your members are, what your membership criteria is. So Claudia, would you mind telling us a little bit about those topics?
Of course. So BC members, as Steve has been saying, are usually internet business users that really use the internet to conduct their businesses. And we have small and large enterprises, and we are a very diverse group. In fact, we have, first of all, we have 76 members of the business constituency, and we have 13 members who are from Africa, 8 members who are from Asia, 10 members that are from Europe, and then American businesses. So it's also, we are really diverse also in terms of gender. In fact, we have 32% of the business constituency enterprises are represented by women, and believe it or not, but in the leadership nowadays we have 4 women. Encouraging to see that there are more women stepping up, and I'm very happy, as you can imagine, about that. But also, in terms of criteria, you have to be eligible to be a BC member. You need to be a business that is conducting business over the internet, and I mean, non-eligible members would be typically an NGO or a political organization or a registrant that would have more than 30% of their revenues in their business. And so we have a credential committee that actually is looking at the applications, and then they would, if they need more information, they would reach out to the people, talk with the people, and to get diversity, to get new members in, and we are a very welcoming group of people that try to engage these newcomers.
That's very encouraging, and clearly congratulations on enrolling a number of increasing members from across the globe, and obviously diversity is very critical to us here at ICANN. Steve, you outlined earlier the mission and the role of the business constituency. Maybe you could elaborate on that and tell us about the policy topics and issues that the business constituency tends to focus on at ICANN.
Yeah, one governance of ICANN itself. And the BC was proud to have been the designer of most of the new mechanisms by which the ICANN community of registrants and users holds the ICANN organization and board accountable to that community as part of the transition out of the US government oversight in 2016. And when we turn to policies that are cooking within the ICANN kitchen, we almost always are looking from the perspective of availability and integrity. The availability of registrations and resolutions in any language, 24/7, in any corner of the world. They need to be there for the business. When it comes to the integrity of registrations and resolutions, we want to be sure that when you reach a domain name through an email or a website, that you're really reaching the website that you want it to. We want to be sure that there's integrity, that if promises were made about what you might experience within a given domain, we want to be sure that ICANN holds those parties to the promises they made. So it's about availability and the integrity of both registrations and resolutions.
And that seems to be a very important mission given the nature of business on the internet. Since we actually do want to have more newcomers and participants join the ICANN community, including within the generic name supporting organization, I was wondering if from the both of you, if you have any words of advice to newcomers who may be thinking of participating in ICANN policymaking or possibly even joining the BC.
Well, I would start by saying don't be shy and don't be scared about the ICANN community. We know that it can be intimidating, but actually, if you recognize our face around an ICANN meeting that you are joining, please come to us, ask questions, and engage with the community. Every point of view counts. Every questions is legitimate and it's important. So we really value new ideas. We really value new points of view, and we would be really happy to engage with newcomers.
Thank you. That generates a lot of other questions that I'm sure you'll be having people come up to you at ICANN meetings or reaching out to ask more about the business constituency and how to join. What do you think?
One of the most complex
Thank you so much, Technical, and thank you everyone who has been around. We're going into the final part of the session for the day, which is day one. If you are just joining us, you are welcome to the African ICT Alliance 11th Summit with the team Transforming Africa's Economy Through Digitization for Sustainable Development. We have our 2 sessions today, and we're going to our final session for the day. Of course, our final session, like I said, will be anchored by our own Amazon in AfICTA, no other person but the Southern African ICT Alliance Vice Chair, Ms. Hulanda Exner. Ms. Hulanda Exner, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Program Director. I just want to double check that you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Fantastic, thank you. And again, for those that I haven't greeted yet that couldn't join us earlier at the start of today's summit, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. As the program director had indicated, I am Yolandi Exner, and I'm the moderator for this 3rd session. Now, the 3rd session, we've got some exciting speakers lined up in terms of discussing the topic of artificial intelligence and ethics and their responsible use. But before I introduce our esteemed speakers, I thought let me just start with a bit of an opening statement as well as an anecdote as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. So most of us might be aware, and most of us know that artificial intelligence actually has been around for a lot longer than what we think it has, you know. So yes, Siri and Alexia and Cortana hasn't just been around for the last couple of years. Well, they've been around for the last couple of years, but artificial intelligence has been around for about 60 years, and probably before then, if we really go and dig deep into the history of artificial intelligence. So love it or hate it, it's become part of our lives. AI tools can automate all sorts of tasks, and whether they being mundane or complex tasks, such as answering computer questions through a chatbot or analyzing large volumes of data to help make predictions. So whilst AI does make our lives easier, for me, from a personal point of view, and trust me, I love technology, I love AI. Sometimes I do find it a bit intrusive and invasive. And so I'll just share this very, very quick story with you that, you know, I have a standing appointment every week, which I put in my calendar. So it's at the same location. And but I don't put the location in my calendar. And all of a sudden, I started noticing that my artificial intelligence assistant started indicating where this appointment is and how long it would take me to get there. Bearing in mind, I've never put the location in, and somehow it is tracking me, you know, through my GPS coordination. So a little bit invasive, but you know, it does come in handy. Another quick anecdote I want to share with the colleagues, also just in preparation for today's discussion, which I thought was quite hilarious, and some of you may or may not have heard the story before. In terms of using artificial intelligence, a couple of years ago, there was a soccer game in Scotland, and they decided to use artificial intelligence to operate the cameras. And so what had happened was, instead of the artificial intelligent cameras following the ball, they were following the linesman, which was the guy that stands on the side of the soccer pitch. And upon further investigation, they realized the reason why the artificial cameras, or the artificial intelligence operated cameras, were following the linesman was because his head was bald. And hence the artificial intelligence cameras mistook his head for a soccer ball. So just some funny anecdotes there that I would share with the audience today. But further ado, I want to introduce our esteemed panel of guests. I would like to start with Dr. Robinson Tumbari Sube. I wanted to read out their bios, but their bios are insanely impressive, and I would certainly encourage everybody to go and have a look at their bios, because the bios are really, really long, but very, very impressive. So I certainly wouldn't be doing justice by condensing their bios for the purposes of today, but please go and check them out on LinkedIn. So I see Dr. Robinson, you've put your camera on, so thank you very much. Then we have Dr. Mafu Wafuwane. Sorry, Dr. Mafu Wafuwane. I've got to say your name really, really slowly, but it's a fellow South African, so we share the platform with the fellow South African, because I'm from South Africa. And then I'm hoping that we have Dr. David Njoga on this platform as well. I had engaged with the Secretariat, so I'm not sure if David is on this call, is on this platform. So Secretariat, if you could just assist me and confirm.
We still don't yet?
Pardon?
We don't have him yet, but he's making every effort to join.
No problem. So, but we can start in the meantime. So I have to say, I'm feeling very left out, because I'm the only one that's not doctor. So we've got Dr. Robinson, Dr. Mafuwafawane, and Dr. David. So yes, certainly joined by some esteemed speakers. So I think before, I delve into some questions, perhaps I'd give Dr. Robinson, if you want to perhaps take the platform in terms of your understanding and your views around and your thoughts on artificial intelligence and ethics and the responsible use, if you want to maybe start the discussions on that. Dr. Robinson, over to you.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Solandi. I thought I was on mute. Always a pleasure to share the stage with you. Well, the virtual stage with you. All right. So you have said it all. Artificial intelligence didn't start today. It's always been there. And albeit it was purely a technical issue before now, but it's interesting that it's no longer a technical issue as such. Lawyers are talking about, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. So it's now a core part of what we do. Now, because of this impressive, it's been a technology that in the last 5-10 years, it's witnessed a very rapid growth in terms of results. And so we have generative AI, and that's really still getting the world reeling and shocked about the capabilities. But then with all of this, the fact that it relies on data, large amount of data, in fact, the more data it gets, most often the better the outcome. So with this also comes the risk of, privacy, the risk of, seeing too many, giving too many out there to these machines, and the fact that those information could be misused, could become another source of worry like it currently is now. And so, it's one of the reasons why this is put up, so that we can discuss and explore responsible use of AI, so that it's not overly intrusive and invasive, just as you stated, and so that, algorithmic bias will be reduced. I share this rather my own experience with one of the generative AI tools. So when it came out and I was told, oh yeah, this works this way. So I said, okay, let me try. So the first thing I tried was to ask it to do a brief summary of the profile of myself. So I mentioned my name, and it came up with a result saying that I am a politician. It got my state correctly. It said I'm a politician. I am not. It said the real shocker, he said I was assassinated about 10 years ago. And I was a legislator, a member of parliament. I don't know where all that came from. The only thing I can think about is that there's a legislator currently representing me that shares a first name with me, first name, not even last name, and he's alive. He's currently in office. So where he got the assassination, all of that, I don't have no knowledge of it. So that clearly is even something that could cause anxiety. For instance, if let's say I had a relation somewhere who wanted to check up on me, maybe he's not seen me for 15 years, and he checks up on me and he said, oh, I've been assassinated. So things like that can even cause other psychological issues and all of that. So there is the need, because artificial intelligence is playing very key and critical information in job searches. We've seen cases of gender bias, particularly there's a popular case of gender bias against women, and all kinds of medical algorithms and stuff, which actually make life-threatening decisions. So because of this, it's important that there has to be that conversation on the responsible use of AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad to see that you have not been assassinated and that you're sitting in front of us very healthy. But that is indeed a very scary thought. As you say, if people Google you and they see that you've been assassinated, it reminds me also of the webinar, and for the audience members, I've shared the platform with Dr. Robinson previously when we spoke about disinformation and misinformation, and the fact that there's this information about you out on the web. It could also allude to what we spoke about previously around misinformation and disinformation, and certainly we have to be responsible when it comes to the use of AI. So I'd like to now then hand over to Dr. Mafuwafuwane. Perhaps also just touch on some points that you wanna highlight in terms of AI and the ethical and responsible use of AI. Over to you, Dr. Mafuwafuwane.
Thank you, Landy. Yeah, indeed, it's a pleasure to be in this platform again, and hi to all the audience. Yeah, when you talked about AI or technology as a whole, I'm a very big fan of technology. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why I went to the security side. If we don't have if we're not taking care responsibility in terms of using how we use this technology, we end up having information such as Dr. Robson indicated. We end up having false positive information that is not accurate. So when we look at AI and the use of it, I think that it is a platform that is going to really develop and help everyone and help the many nations and then countries as a whole and government and economy. One of the good examples that I've seen on AI now is that when you look at LinkedIn, they are now applying that methodology within AI, whereby when it comes to giving a brief profile about yourself, if you already gave a job description, they usually take information from there, and then they will ask you, are you happy with the information that is given to you? So I think at the end of the day, we cannot give technology to make final decision. So the problem that we have is when we make AI to make final decision on its own, we need to still intervene, which was the good platform that I saw on LinkedIn, whereby they still give you an opportunity to say, are you happy with what you see? Are you happy with the summary of the information from AI? But the interesting part was when I then changed the job role, but I didn't include the description on my new job role. Then I went to about and I said, AI generate about my new role and give me description in terms of what my new role is all about. So it went on and indicated in terms of my title, it indicated right, because that was already there. The information which was not there was the description of the job itself, whereby now AI went back to all my previous job roles and tried to take information bit by bit and make it my kind of like a summary of my new responsibilities. So that's some of the things that shows that if AI is not fed with the right information or data, and enough data in terms of where should they get information, how should it make the final decision, it end up giving an information that's not accurate. So we can imagine a lot of situations that where as much as we continue using this technology, we live in different areas. Fortunately, in South Africa, we have different kind of people and race. So let's say a technology has been tested, we can use different diverse people. But other element or other countries find that they don't have much population in terms of different diverse areas, whereby if an AI technology is created on those other areas and having to be moving abroad to other areas, that poses a huge risk because it was not tested. It was not tested with many diverse people. So we need to have a strong regulation, but I still say that AI is the way to go. We need to embrace it, but we need to definitely have government playing a huge role when it comes to regulations and also having professionals from cybersecurity point of view getting involved from the word go. Thank you. Over to you, Yolande.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Certainly also embrace. Can you not hear me? Colleagues?
We can hear you.
Can I get confirmation from somebody if you can? Thank you. Thank you for giving us some thought. AI from various countries. I see that the doctor has frozen. I'm not sure again if it's on my side or I can see Dr. Robinson, you're still very much active there, so I will then continue. I'd like to then welcome, I want to just double check if we've got Dr. David Njoga on the platform. Yes, I see Dr. David. Dr. David, welcome. I think you missed the introduction, so we do welcome you now. So just in terms of your thoughts and some maybe opening comments as far as artificial intelligence and the ethical use, you're also most welcome to share some anecdotes with us, just some background in terms of your experience with AI and perhaps some of the ethical implications. Over to you. The platform is yours, Dr. David.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, and sorry for joining late. I had a technology problem. I had trusted some AI app application to take charge of my first 5 minutes of the session, but it seems to have failed. Anyway, from a perspective, I look at digital transformation as that which is really moving very fast. Africa as a continent, of course, is also part of the global landscape of rapid digital transformation. Again, I look at customers or users as really being enthusiastic in terms of demanding more solutions from tech. Again, that is what now is really pushing innovators and various solution developers to look at quite sophisticated and quite complex applications that are now embracing AI as a technology. This is because of that overdependency on technology brings in now the element of people wanting to do much more in a shorter time. People want to work with very intelligent platforms. People want to use a lot of human simulated knowledge and so on. People want to automate a lot of tasks and want to do so much within a very short time. So then that now brings in, the embracing of AI, which is, of course, as we know, works best with the big data, and continuously with increased automation, with increased digitization, we are creating very large, super huge, super big data, let me call it so. That is what is really driving artificial intelligence. Now, as we go into that, again, I would like to bring in the perspective of, what the Christian religion and, of course, I believe other religions also mentioned about it, as well as our philosophy. The four cardinal virtues. One is temperance, that, do we know when to stop when we're embracing a particular, consumption of a particular technology or a particular item. Then fortitude, how much are we able to stand firm and to maintain our course to do the right thing. The third one I would like to just oppose is justice. Are we fair in terms of what we're doing? Are we giving what belongs to Caesar, and many others? Then prudence is the other virtue. Now, these four, I like bringing them in the discussions of AI to the fact that AI is good and good. That is one perspective of it. The other one is that AI is good, is bad, and good. And the third one, I look at AI as bad and bad. Now, from my experience, being an expert in cybersecurity, but also with a lot of focus on digital transformation, I look at AI as bringing in the very good benefits that every consumer would like to have, such as, the automation, efficiency, and many others. But at the same time, it raises those concerns, like the ones that I've equated with the four cardinal virtues. Number one is that, are we able to address the concerns of ethics? We've seen some of the challenges in terms of the ethics in AI, is that malicious actors may be, are able to manipulate the algorithms which have been used so that things happen in a way that is not desired, or that is not authentic, that lacks integrity because of the manipulation. Again, we see issues of compromise of personal data. We see the challenges of users not being made aware of some of the basic operations and challenges, and even some of the negative effects that they may get from the use of AI. So for me, I think as we explore in this discussion issues about ethics, and others, I would like us to look at it that AI is a technology that has come. It's been embraced largely. Unfortunately or fortunately, it is moving faster than we are able to understand how to control it. It is on a speed runaway. And I think I'm just trying to recap some discussion by the tech giants in the US who are saying they cannot allow machines and the tools that have been invented by man to control man. So again, as we proceed with this discussion, as I take a breather, I would like just us to open up and appreciate the fact that AI is here to stay with us. It has been there for many years, and we just need to see how best are we able to, address the issues around ethics, the issues around, the proper use of the technologies, as well as the regulation, so that we manage the challenges that happen within a particular jurisdiction, say in West Africa, within ECOWAS as a regional bloc, or within Africa as a continent, or within the entire globe. Because again, it is leveraging on really, really big data, which goes beyond the confines of one country or one continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. David, for that, and something that I'd hope we can touch on as well. And while you were speaking, Doctor, you made mention of US organizations. Whenever I think of artificial intelligence, it always makes me think back of the movie The Terminator, and I'm sure most of you must have seen it at some stage in your lifetime, and then the rise of the machines, and are the machines going to take over the world, and even RoboCop. I mean, if we're talking about RoboCop, I think that movie was made in the 80s, and already then, there was movies made around artificial intelligence, and who would have thought that we are where we are today. And it also just reminds me, I don't know if it scares me, but the fact that, one day you're going to come home and Siri or Alexa has decided to throw a party while you were out, because that there's so much built-in intelligence in home automation, and Siri will decide to make sure your fridge is stocked and start inviting your friends over. But I certainly hope we as humans will still have control over the artificial intelligence. And also, just to take what was said previously as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, around, for example, your biographical data, you get what you put in. So if you're getting garbage out, it's because you've put garbage in. But yes, let's start the discussions around artificial intelligence and ethics. I see there are some discussions, or there are some questions on the chat, which I will come to in a moment. But I would like to then maybe pose to Dr. Mafua Fawane the question around AI and ethics. What do you think are the ethical implications of artificial technology? I mean, we've touched on some of it during our opening statements, but if it's perhaps something that you can expand on around the use of AI technology, and give us some thoughts around the ethical implications. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you, Yolanda. I think when we look at some of the implications, definitely needs to do with when you come to data control and the security around it. And when we talk about security, that's where privacy gets involved, whereby the moment we start collecting a lot of amount of data, and especially people's data, then people's privacy is at risk. So how that is managed can become an issue. But one of the things that I think in terms of the ethics that we really worried about, that most people are worried about, is when it comes to job. When it comes to a job type, most people are worried that AI is going to take their jobs, and in which I believe that we are into a world whereby already, as most of the speakers already indicated, that we are already embracing AI. So what we have left with is to be able to create new opportunities to say, how do we best work with AI? But at the same time, the other issues that we then face on the other hand is that when it comes to ethics, is that AI, like they indicated, doesn't know how to make ethical decisions or issues, how to deal with ethical issues. So which means that feeding AI with a lot of information that will better help AI to make those, to be more accountable, if I should say. And the huge implication that we may face in the long run, like you indicated, we live in the world that machine might take over. It's when we start allowing AI technology to communicate with each other, which definitely does boost an AI tool. But you can imagine when two AI technology are communicating with each other, and then another one get implicated maybe via a criminal attack, via cyber criminals. So that could definitely affect the entire scope. So we believe that going forward, there will be a lot of, like I indicated, a lot of regulation that should at least be there to make sure that when it comes to these issues that we're facing, especially the job side, I believe that the automation that AI can bring, it does help a lot, especially when it comes to reporting. It does help a lot of work, but then there are more advanced work that a human can still do, which I believe that we are more capable of more. And if we were able to develop a tool such as AI, what more can we do? So it's a very great challenge to to humans as a whole, that we need to challenge ourselves. So how do we create new job opportunities? How do we work alongside with AI, and then making sure those companies that are making AI technologies, that need to make sure that AI, when it comes to programming, is fed very well so that it can be accountable. I think accountability will lead the key going forward, because how do you account a machine? Are you going to blame the OEM, or are you going to blame the whoever who purchased it? It's issues that's still very much debatable. If we can imagine, when it comes to dog, it was easy because if it is my dog, I'm going to get accountable, but you cannot really account a dog. So how do you account an AI and make sure that who takes that accountability at the end of the day? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. That's also, again, very thought-provoking, because who does take accountability? Is it the organization? Is it the developers? Who signs off, and who makes those decisions, and who puts the various algorithms in place to make the various decisions? And we've seen a lot of cases as well in terms of where AI did get it wrong. But I'd like to go to one of the questions that's been posed by the members of the audience. And the question is from Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And I think I'm going to pose this question to Dr. Robinson. And the question is, how do you see the future of AI evolving over the next decade, especially in terms of breakthroughs in machine learning and natural language understanding? Do you want to take that question, Dr. Robinson?
Okay, yeah, very interesting question. Actually, AI has I'm sure AI must have even been surprised by itself, because in the last few years, a lot has happened, and a lot will happen. I'm going to see a lot of rapid application. So we have seen this generative AI taking center stage. A lot will happen. I'm currently in the middle of a book publication, for instance, I have a contract to do a book, and even the publisher has suggested AI tools for me to use to hasten my publication, even though I'm an old school guy, so I have refused to use it for now. But you can see things like that it is becoming, an accepted tool, and it's becoming increasingly, applied in different areas, in justice system, in healthcare systems, and so on and so forth. But the fear is that, yes, while this rapid application happens as well, there is the fear that AI itself is not neutral, if I should use that word. AI is not a neutral system. AI works or leans towards the direction of the data fed to it. So that means that it is, open to bias and discrimination based on the data that is fed to it. And this could be pure innocence. Somebody may have mistakenly fed it with one-sided data without knowing, or it may be deliberate, or it may even be product of adversarial attack. So you have the AI system itself being prone to attack. It can be attacked and manipulated, like you mentioned earlier, for disinformation and so on. And then there are also very serious issues which Doctor mentioned earlier, of transparency, of ownership, social manipulation and disinformation. Also, privacy, you mentioned, we gave very good examples of that. And very disturbingly, things like autonomous weapons. So, there are weapons that are based on AI algorithms. So where do you stop and where do you start? What are the controls, in regulating that? But the good news is that I see a lot of attention calling. There are countries, trying to lead in that direction. The United States, several countries are leading in that conversation, and so they are extracting voluntary commitments from the big players in that sector. So I will see a lot of those kind of voluntary commitments from the big players, because the conversation is getting louder, and it's important And everybody now knows and everybody agrees that it's important that there is some measure of control, some measure of regulation of some sort, in a way that while you're not crippling or strangulating technological growth, but at least you're ensuring that it is used ethically.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Dr. David, I'm not seeing you on the platform. I don't know if he has perhaps dropped off the Secretariat, if you could then just confirm that. So while we wait for that, I see we do have another, because I wanted to actually pose this question to Dr. David, but I'm not seeing him on the platform any longer. So I will then throw it back to Doctor. We have another question from the attendees, and this is also a very, very sensitive question. And let me read it out. How do we ensure that human dignity and privacy is still preserved within this flooding of generative AI? And yes, Doctor, if you want to give us, Dr. Mufawani, if you want to give us your thoughts on that. Did you get the question?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Yolandi. No, I think it is a very sensitive question indeed. And then when we look at dignity, it goes back to privacy, which involves data control. So AI, when it comes to data control becomes a very massive thing, which I believe that the best way to do it, and with the best practices that I've seen most of the companies doing the AI, is around consultation. When we look at this AI tool, they're mostly coming from a data scientist, which they're very eager in terms of what they can develop, what they can do. We can look into that from more of this psychology platform that are coming into there, where you can really just talk to a robot and tell them your problem, things like that. However, if we don't do a lot of consultation with the privacy, people that deals with privacy, a cybersecurity consultant that would help around data control in terms of how do we anonymize the data and how do we make sure that AI doesn't denominize this particular data. So I'll say it's a consultation work whereby people need to understand, those people that are developing this technology or developing this massive, nice platforms, they must understand that it's not a one-man show. It really needs a lot of consultation and a lot of data feeding when it comes to diversity. So when it comes to being biased, most of the speakers to indicate about being biased. So when you come around dignity, AI must understand exactly what do we mean by personal information. What do you mean by that? So if the AI tool is not being taught those type of information, definitely when it comes to exposing certain information that AI doesn't believe that, for example, Dr. Robson indicated that he used an AI to find out who he is. So let's say an AI tool somehow did find some information that's not accurate, maybe an article that was written about myself, that article maybe was rubbish, or maybe if indeed was truth or something that I'm not comfortable about. And you can imagine using AI and the AI providing that information in front of a crowd like this. That could be very disturbing. So we still have to have ways in terms of how do we deal with information that is not accurate, which goes back to our topic last time in terms of, because where is the AI going to be collecting this information? If you're going to rely on a web, you must also understand that the web that we're talking about today doesn't only contain information which is legit. So it's a big ask, and then it's a big task, but I believe that it comes with data control and respecting of privacy when everything is done from the control. Because when you respect privacy, then you then avoid things like this, and taking into mind that at the end of the day, the main things about the customers or the people at the end of the day, that you need to give them that assurity, that trust that this is the information that you collected. And again, how are you going to keep those particular information? How are we retaining the information within the AI? If we're going to have a long retention of certain information that is not necessary, those type of information, when it builds within the AI tool, the AI can make definitely can have implications when it comes to dignity. But we have what it takes, using the data scientists working together with cybersecurity specialists, a consultant, because there are tool sets already that can make sure that the data is not exposed, and then how AI can consume particular data. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I also just want to acknowledge and thank Advocate Nandipa Nsaluba for that question. And I appreciate the questions that are coming through from the attendees. There's another one that has come through, so please keep them coming. Our panelists are doing a great job of answering them, but I think we are putting them on the hot seat here in terms of throwing these questions at them. So I'm going to throw one more question at our panelists from the audience, and then we'll go back to touching on some of the other discussion points around AI and the responsible use. So the other question that we have from one of the attendees is, if I'm butchering your name, can we actually rely on the law to deter the negative effects of generative AI? Dr. Robinson, do you want to take a stab at that question?
Yeah, quite unfortunately, the law grinds slowly, and so also is legislative drafting. So if you read some of the very recent laws, they read like something that's obsolete, even though they were done recently. That's because the pace of technological growth is far more than the pace of legislative drafting or legal drafting or of justice itself. So definitely AI will always outpace the law. That's the sad thing. So, and that's why we have a lot of informal activities in that space to say, look, we can't just allow the law to dictate this, because there are fundamental aspects of the law that if you allow that, it will mean that you have to allow them to do everything, because there are fundamental rights to technological advancement. Everybody wants technological growth, even though you want it in a controlled way. Everybody wants freedom of information and all of those things. And if you wait for the law, in fact, there are some of these things that the law never contemplated, perhaps maybe in specific mention of some of these protocols or some of the tools or the laws or some. I know that drafting a legislation, you try as much as possible to avoid mention of the technology, because technologies do change. But, there are certain acts, for instance, if you look around the continent when the Cybercrime Act themselves were written, for instance, this is not necessarily in this space, but for instance, in that space of cybercrime, you see that there were things like, cryptocurrency had not become an issue. So, but today it's an issue. So AI will always outpace them. But good thing is that governments across the world are having a handshake with the private sector. And that's why, AfICTA, people like groups like AfICTA come into play to galvanize that private sector support, because government cannot alone. If government don't have the expertise, government is not controlling the technological pace, but government can handshake with the private sector that is driving technological growth to ensure that the private sectors give that voluntary commitment to ensure that every AI tool has to be robustly tested, has to be tested for safety, checks for biological issues, cybersecurity issues, societal or socioeconomic issues, or psychological issues, and all of these things that privacy and all those things that affect mankind. So laws cannot suffice when it comes to very rapidly changing technological landscape like we have seen in the AI terrain.
Absolutely, Dr. Robinson, and earlier on, Dr. Mufawane was talking about regulation as well, and regulation is very important, but regulation is always very slow to catch up, and policy is very and legislation, should I say, is very slow to catch up. Perhaps Dr. Mufawane, just expanding on this discussion, and what could we perhaps do in the meantime? Because, yes, we talk about the responsible use of AI, and we throw the word regulation around, but who's going to drive it? Who drives it? What do we do in the meantime? Because certainly, perhaps from my perspective, I'm not aware of any legislation in terms of the responsible use of AI. And I'm also here to be educated. So if anyone has a different view in terms of whether there is current legislation when it comes to AI, what do we do in the meantime in the absence of regulation? Any thoughts on that, Dr. Mufowane?
Yeah, I think definitely we're gonna still rely heavily on regulation. However, when we look in terms of the laws that are out there and in some of the things that AI can provoke, we already have laws that talks about human rights. For example, when we look at South Africa for in that instance, so which means if I'm a company that's gonna develop a tool set that's gonna affect someone's human right, then it means that someone needs to be liable on that. So which means someone needs to be accountable, which in this instance, the producers of the technology, they're the one that, or the producers of the AI, they're the one that we think that at the end of the day, we need gonna hold them accountable. But the specific laws in terms of what people can do is in terms of following the best practices, definitely is that if you do consultations, like I indicated, which is my favorite, to say that when you consult with people who have done it before and tried and failed, and then they will then give us the best practice in terms of how to go about it. But from a human's perspective, from a consumer side, I think it's a matter of if you feel that in AI you've violated some certain rules that we have. I think it's a matter of following what in that particular country that you belong in, to say what are the online privacy rules that could be there. In South Africa, we have cybercrime, cyber bill, which can also help in some instances if you feel that your information was not taken accurately or on your own will. But in most cases, what I've seen is that most of these tool sets that we have, such as applications, using the technology that we have or the cell phone that we have today, they do ask us for permission, and we are the one that actually granting those permission to these applications. So it becomes a very complicated task to handle, because it's like a cyber crime whereby someone say that this particular application took my information, but when you look, they did accept that they're gonna share their all contact, they're gonna have access to all the photos that they have. So there are other for cell phone providers that are making it more hard for these application developers to really have this access. But we still have online where people can easily go to a website and then access AI. So it's still some sorts of challenges that we're going to face, but I believe that we should, at least for now, rely heavily on responsible to those people that develop those tool sets and actually read the terms and conditions in terms of that, because some of these AI tools, they're still on the beta version, whereby they do indicate that they were using as a testing, so you're part of the survey, but people don't really get that information. And then when it comes to data breaches that we've seen these days, it's easy for this application to be breached if security best practices haven't been applied.
Thank you for that response. And I suppose, yes, perhaps there isn't specific legislation to guide us in terms of responsible use of AI, but there are other aspects and other regulations and legislation that you could rely on that would support that. As you'd already indicated, in our home country, we've got the Cybercrime Act. We also have the Protection of Personal Information Act. We've got the Electronic Communications and Technologies Act. So there are various acts that I suppose, and I think we are but challenged here, because none of us are lawyers. We're in the cybersecurity and the AI space. So certainly for next time, I think it's worth bringing in some lawyers in here and see what some of their practices or what they've seen in terms of perhaps if there's some examples of case law or legislation around AI. So certainly something for reference for future discussions. And so, Dr. Robinson, so before I come back to you, Dr. Robinson, I just want to double check with the Secretariat if we were able to get hold of Dr. David. The technical team, if you could just confirm if Dr. David is back online.
Yes, no. I am back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, wonderful. So, Dr. David, I think I want to then pose the next audience and attendee question to yourself. And the question is, how can artificial intelligence continue to support and promote Africa's economy for sustainable development and for the future generation? And that question was posed by Musa Maigari. So I just want to just double check, David, Dr. David, if you heard that question, and the platform is yours to respond. Dr. David,
Okay,
are you there?
thank you very much. Yes, allow me to proceed and allow me to switch off my video just to enable bandwidth. I'm a bit disturbed. So the question is, if I may just recap, is that how does AI support sustainable development for the African economy? Is that the question?
Indeed.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, that's a good question, and I would like to respond to it by mentioning that if you look at Africa, there is a very deliberate plan under the Smart Africa project, which, if you look at some of the pillars, is really look at smart cities, use of big data, artificial intelligence, for automating various economic activities to have a growing digital economy for the continent of Africa. Now, in that aspect, while I look at the continent as well, allow me to just take a deep dive of Kenya and East African region, which I'm quite familiar with in terms of some of the adoption of AI in pushing towards sustainability. As you know about sustainability, it's more about improving efficiency, consuming less power and, using less of almost everything while preserving the natural resources and so on and so forth. So we see there is a lot of effort in terms of adoption of technologies that can enable smart devices, smart cities, smart farming, smart transport, and so many other things. So we see autonomous vehicles already starting to take a shape within the African ecosystem. We see smart cities which use renewable energy, use autonomous and automated systems, and so on and so forth. We see the creation of what they say. I think there's a deliberate effort by the African Union towards creating a big data center of excellence that can employ various tenets of data, from population to issues of climate patterns, and so on and so forth, so that some of the use cases could be in terms of predictive analysis, so that AI can be used to support efforts such as in fighting adverse effects where in arid and semi-arid areas. We also see manufacturing adopting a bit of artificial intelligence, so that Africa as a continent can have a way of manufacturing more efficiently, so that it becomes a preferred producer of several goods and services that can attract a better market from the global market. So let me leave it at that point, so that maybe the participant who asked the question may ask follow-up questions should there be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. David. Dr. Robinson, do you want to also just take a stab at responding to that question? Do you have anything else that you could add as far as how does artificial intelligence support and promote Africa's economy for sustainable development?
Yeah, I think quite on the contrary to what many persons highlight, which is the fact that AI is going to take away jobs. Yes, AI will take away a lot of jobs, but AI will also put a lot of jobs also on the table. So, but the challenge there is Africa preparing for that? Somehow I think that the AI landscape, or the whole AI thing, is a breather for Africa, is a fresh opportunity, which if we prepare, everybody is relatively supposed to be, we all have the raw materials, which is data. We have data, everybody has data, every continent has data, although our data may be a bit chaotic, but we still have data. Now, how do we use that? It's just like we have cocoa, but the cocoa ends up in Europe and gets manufactured into chocolate and sent back. Are we ready to, develop and catalyze growth in terms of AI? Are we producing the right AI experts? A few years ago, a friend of mine who was doing PhD, he got an offer to go somewhere in Europe. He's a lawyer, so they already were preparing their lawyers to be able to understand AI and be able to, be able to look at the legal side of AI. And this so many years ago. Is Africa even able to, engineer even first level AI practitioners, even at terrorists, or even if we pick a secondary school kid currently in Africa, perhaps more than or less than 1 in 10 or so would know what AI is. So we need to prepare. There are opportunities and there are problems to be solved. In fact, if there's any continent that AI can solve problems, is Africa. We need effective market models. AI can do that. AI can help you generate, good models, good economic models, good environmental models. We have a lot of environmental challenges in Africa that with the use of AI tools, you can solve them. AI is not just all about the other side. It also solves very critical problems which we are grappling with as a continent. Industry 4.0. ICT for sustainable development, and all of these things. Unfortunately, not many African nations are preparing for this. Not many of them. We like to jump on the buzzwords of, AI, and now we're jumping on AI and the ethical side of it. But AI has huge opportunities which only the prepared can take. Africa can indeed benefit from AI. We have so many problems that AI can solve, but we have to look at it both from a strategic point as a corporate and from a personal point of view.
That wonderful insight, Dr. Robinson. If I could ask you just to expand a little bit in terms of, and I agree 100% with you in terms of preparing for AI. And I mean, Africa, I also agree with you there. If you want a problem solved, come to Africa, because we can certainly solve problems here. But how do we prepare Africa for the use of AI? I mean, we've all agreed AI is here, it's here to stay, it's not going to go anywhere. There is obviously the concerns around people losing their jobs because of AI. You'd already indicated that that may happen, but there will also be job opportunities. But if I had to say to you, give us a takeaway. If I had at the end of today, what could I do as an individual in terms of perhaps creating that awareness, or do you have some takeaway points for us on how we could prepare our continent for AI and its use?
I think there has to be a lot of training awareness, first of all, first level awareness. And, we in Africa, just yesterday, I was actually in another session where I was, we're discussing something similar. And I said, if you look at the teledensity of Africa, it's very impressive. You go to Nigeria, we have a teledensity of over 100%, which means that there are more phones in Nigeria than there are humans. And I'm talking of active phone lines. Yeah. Now, but if you also juxtapose that with the literacy rate, you see there's a big skew in the it doesn't balance out. There are counties, there are states where literacy rate is far less than 50, less than 30 even. So if you look at that, we're using technology, but literacy rate is quite poor. So now when you are going to design awareness campaign, you do not assume that because somebody owns a phone, he's a literate guy, and so you use the same big language of artificial intelligence. To him, it doesn't make any sense. And you know that the way artificial intelligence is currently is going to affect everybody that has some kind of interaction with a device. And even when you don't have interaction with any device, your own data is out there. So in crafting that language of awareness, we have to craft it, factoring in the realities of the African situation, which is that, look, everybody, every audience has their message. We have to look for different messaging methods to get to everybody. That's the general level of awareness. And then the targeted one, which is to catalyze growth in the industry, that will be both formal and informal. So the formal structure, we have to look at the curriculum, beginning from primary school. A kid in primary school should be able to know what AI is, because if you look at the way things are, every child now has some interaction with the computer, and potentially that child has so many access to AI tools. So we have to begin at that young age to teach them how to have responsible use of AI, and then progress down to the tertiary level where we are actually now preparing them. If you take statistics, how many universities out there in Africa do offer specialized AI courses? We just have computer science departments and computer engineering, but no specialist AI courses. And even when they do happen, most of the time, if you look at the curriculum itself, it's very, very, it's not properly done. So we look at that, and then we look at the workforce, those who are out of school. They are already out of school. Not everybody can go back to school. How can we equip them to be able to, leapfrog, and while staying at work, be able to learn short courses and strategic, direction? Nations can come together, get their best. There's something going on in Nigeria as well, which I've read about, which the current minister is trying to do on AI, getting the pool of the best AI assets, best AI talents. And this is what nations do. If you go to the US, particularly in the cybersecurity space, they designate a lot of these universities as centers of excellence in promoting cybersecurity education. And you won't find that in the Harvard, for instance, or in all the other popular schools, because there are people all over, Russians, Japanese, everybody, Chinese, Koreans in those schools. So somehow they take it to the middle tier schools that's quiet, and they're using those centers to drive their strategic plan in terms of cybersecurity. The same way Africa can adopt some of these models and identify some research centers, some institutions, and use it to catalyze growth in very high level AI technology and capability. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Very passionate response there. Dr. Mafuwane, any comments from your side on this?
Yeah, and I think Dr. Robson already said it all. Indeed, it's something that it needs to go back to awareness. I think when we talk about the word AI or artificial intelligence, it's a buzzing word whereby people are expecting a technology or a tool set, say AI. And we finding that we gave a nice example by LinkedIn to say that LinkedIn was using an AI to predict certain things in terms of about. Most people won't, if I was saying that you're using AI on LinkedIn, say, no, I use LinkedIn. So we need to definitely make people understand in a normal way language to say that the improvements of a technology that we're using, it goes back to when we started cloud computing. When you talk about cloud, everyone would say, no, I'm not using cloud. But you find that, okay, if you delete your Facebook, when you download it again, do you still have the same data? I said, yes. So it is in the cloud. So it really takes a lot in order to make people better understand, especially when it comes to this new buzzing technology. So I do agree that we need to get the people prepared, and it needs to start from the ground. But at the same time, we're already having people that are consuming this technology from the big side, which is, I believe, that our board, the private companies, government officials, and the people that are decision makers, something needs to be driven from the top down. So we need to make those individuals better understand what's AI, because I personally believe that we still have leaders that are very smart, but they still don't understand exactly what's AI and what will be the role of AI in their own organization or their own department if they are a government institution. So I think that there's a lot of education that needs to be done, especially on the top level as well, so that messages like this, where the suggestion like what Dr. Robson said, can be implemented. Because it's one thing for us as professionals to push certain agenda, but one thing for sure, people that need to really implement this, they don't better understand. They see it as a buzzing word. they believe that it's only robots or robotic things that are more to AI. They don't see this as as AI. It's only robots and everything that's operating, but actually they're using application every day that are influenced by AI, so forth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm reading a comment again by Advocate Nandipa, and she's talking about ChatGPT has revolutionized the academic integrity discourse. And how our lecturers and students supported to decipher this maze of traditional versus generative AI. And also, for me, in terms of the experiences and what I've seen with ChatGPT is that students are now using ChatGPT to do their dissertations and thesis and write their essays. And it's now scurry because how do we know whether the student has actually written that paper themselves? And I chatted to a lecturer the one day, and I'm also interested to hear your comments on this. But I chatted to a lecturer one day, and I said to them, "So how do you feel about ChatGPT and the fact that you are perhaps reading an assignment that wasn't written by a student but by an assistant or an artificial assistant?" And they said to me, you know what, again, AI is here, we need to embrace it, but there's also now tools in place in terms of where and mechanisms in place where lecturers themselves, they know their students, they know the capability of their students, and if they've had, for example, a mediocre student that all of a sudden produces this distinction award, even if they do, then it's also up to that lecturer to engage with the student and see, okay, well, have they actually learned anything from this paper? And I think it also goes back to so the challenge is obviously here from an academic perspective. How do we deal with that? But then it comes back to us as individuals, and again, the ethical use of artificial intelligence, because if you want to go and pursue your PhD or master's, yes, you can go and get the ChatGPT to go and put together your thesis or dissertation. But at the end of the day, we as individuals, and it's no different to then getting your friend to do it. So if you want to cheat, you're going to cheat, whether you use AI and ChatGPT or whether you use your friend to cheat. So just my thoughts on that. But as far as the academic side is concerned, I don't know if we have any academics here on this platform that can perhaps assist us there in terms of some of the challenges there. Dr. Robinson, perhaps from your side?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I am an academic, also in the industry, but I think I'm more of an industry than an academic. But I am a son of a teacher also, so I have a rich educational heritage. Now, the truth is that I think I like the AI revolution. It's going to force African educational systems to be on their foot, because we've been quite slow in revisiting our curriculum. We've been quite slow in revisiting the system itself. But I think this is going to rudely awaken us as a people. AI is a tool. It has come to stay. So whether we like it or not, it has come to stay. And it's defeating the first level plagiarism checker, because it's not plagiarism, it's a new content and a fresh content. So it's not like it's plagiarism, it's just that the person didn't use it. So the same way, educational system has evolved with new tools. If you look at back when I was in school, and perhaps when my parents were in school, there was a lot of emphasis on teaching kids handwriting. So you find that the kids of these days don't have, at least in my part of the world, don't have the kind of good handwritings we had, or the one my parents also wrote like they were drawing. My father's handwriting was very artistic back in the time, because there was no computer, so you had to write in a very legible manner. Now there is less emphasis. In fact, I just discovered my daughter, there is no course called writing. In my time, there was a course called writing. It was a course itself. They tested us on it. They had a notebook for writing, then. That disappeared. Computer is gradually, or has driven that out, because the thing is, you're in primary 3, you already start doing stuff on the computer. So they're like, okay, handwriting is not going to take you anywhere. So the same way AI has come, the system has to realize, the educational system has to be reworked in a way that is agile, that understands that, look, the new tool has come. Now, how do you recalibrate your testing mechanism? How do you how do you evaluate your students' performance? So you've just hinted in one, which is, the student, daily feedback, daily input, and not necessarily waiting until he presents a 200-page dissertation or a 500-page dissertation. Whereas these students, your regular feedback, your regular contact with the students clearly does not support that. So the school system has to be reworked to understand that reality, that yes, this is possible. And before now, what the school only checked for was plagiarism. So there has to be another level of check for original content from third-party sources. There has to be a way to check that. And this is not just an African thing. This is a global thing. Every university has to find a way around that. But, people would argue that, look, it's about solving a problem. You gave me a dissertation, I solved it using a tool by giving you the answer, and that's the real world now. That's what the real world is about. You give me a problem, I solve it. It's not your business how I solved it, but I solved it. I didn't do it maliciously. I solved it legitimately. So there are those who would argue in that regard, and I'm not going to take a hard stance against it, because time has proven some of these things which we had an old school idea about, time has proven them right. So it's something we keep an open mind, but requires immediate, collaboration, immediate conversation by educational service providers, curriculum developers across nations, to be able to rework this in reflection of the emerging AI revolution.
Wow, Dr. Robinson, I certainly love that the last statement you made in terms of solving a problem, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is solve problems. How we did it doesn't matter, and AI is there to help us to solve problems. So certainly that was for me a very thought-provoking and food for thought comment and statement, and I think that's the lesson also that we need to learn, or that's what we need to apply in terms of going forward, is that we want to solve problems. Do we want to sit and manually try and figure out how to solve a problem, when we can use technology to solve our problems for us, especially when there are so many problems that we're faced with as a continent and as the world. So we have about 2 minutes left of this session, and so I want to give each panelist perhaps a minute just to give us some closing remarks, anything that you would like to highlight or mention that hasn't come out in today's discussion, and maybe some takeaway points for us, because I always like to have a webinar or a discussion where we can actually learn, and not just learn, but perhaps apply some of the knowledge that we've learned. So I'm going to start with Dr. David, just in a minute, if you've got some closing comments for us in terms of artificial intelligence and the ethics and responsible use thereof. Over to you, Dr. David.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd wish to reiterate and re-emphasize that AI is here to stay, and will be keeping us always chasing the wind. We'll always be chasing after AI to see how best to optimize on its capabilities and the tools that it is embedded with to solve the problems, as envisaged, as mentioned by Dr. Robinson. But I wish to look at the African context and mention that we need to prepare adequately to embrace AI for full utilization, for full responsible use of AI we really need to develop human capacity that can understand the technologies, adoption, and that will require customization within our context. An AI application in other part of the world might not necessarily fit in our African ecosystem. In terms of the usage, especially the training models, including ChatGPT, I think Africa is lagging behind in terms of generating and publishing as much knowledge that can fit into this model that can address and answer our African problems. As it is now, ChatGPT is very bare on answering local problems. Rather, it will give generic solutions because of the way the models have been designed. Above all, we really need to set up structures, to have a solid legislative and regulatory framework that can promote and push a responsible use of AI to support our African socio-economic agenda. Otherwise, for us, I think we should get away from the excitement, but we should take a big chunk of the responsibility of designing, developing, implementing, and supporting AI so that it becomes relevant to our ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. David. Dr. Mafowane?
Thank you, Lana, and then thank you for the Jens. I think, yeah, a lot has been said today, and then looking at one of the things that was mentioned around AI is ChatGPT, which most people might be familiar with, and then some of the bad things that can be used for have been indicated, which I don't really think is too bad. I think that AI really provoke our critical thinking as Africans, you say that let's start to think differently. From our side, just a quick use case is that we have used or we are utilizing ChatGPT to make sure that every security incident that we receive, that whereby usually an analyst level 1 or analyst tier 1 will basically write a report. We're using ChatGPT to actually write that report exactly to say what happened. So it can also be used for very great use that reduce a lot of time from a human being point of view, which brings efficiency. And with that efficiency, you can then use those resources for some other advanced task. So I believe that it's a matter of fear, and then with fear, it won't take us far, And I go back, I share the same statement with Dr. Robson to say that when it comes to the curriculum, it needs to be revised. If we used to give students SAA, and now we know that they can easily get SAE, then which means the assessment mustn't be about SAA anymore. Maybe bring an SAA and say that go and get an AI-produced SAA around this topic, and please tell us the objective. What was the individual? There's a lot of things that I believe that people who are from academic, they can come up with those smart questions to our students who are already having. So it's just a matter of reverse engineering in some of the things to better understand if the student have understood. So I think it's just a revise that needs to be done. I'm not academic, I can't talk a lot around that area, but I believe that we mustn't really have fear around this technology. They are really being used for good use. ChatGPT, we are using it to reduce at least 35% of our resources, which without AI, it wasn't going to be possible to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Robinson, closing comments from yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yolande, and thank you, AfICTA, for the opportunity. Just to add and to re-emphasize the fact that AI has come to stay, and as a continent, we have to, Africa needs to take steps to not just be a consumer, but to be a leading player. And we do have comparative advantage when it comes to this because we have the personnel out there. So we should take these strategic steps. And there are nations that are still in the process of drafting their privacy laws, their data protection laws. This is a good time to quickly incorporate it. And it's good to also learn from others as well. When drafting legislation, make it smart. You see, or we have seen how fast technology is, how fast the landscape is, but legislative drafting takes a longer time. So what we can do is to create openings where addendums or regulations can be issued as addendum that does not necessarily need to follow through with a long cycle of generating new legislation. And there's an example in the case of the Amended Evidence Act in Nigeria, which literally captured the emerging trends in terms of digital evidence. There is a component of that act, a section of it that allows the Attorney General to so include new sources of digital evidence as emerging technologies arise. So we can have, such clauses in the laws to keep pace with technological growth. Thank you once again, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson. And yes, thank you to all my panelists for this wonderful and insightful discussion. And I hope this is also going to, this has created the catalyst for us to go and look at how we can also assist in terms of creating that awareness out there in terms of responsible use and forcing and perhaps assisting with regulation and legislation. But I know we are over time, so I want to hand over back to our magnificent program director, who's been so good, and I'm actually quite nervous that I've run over time because I was waiting for him to pop up. But over to you. Thank you so much, program director.
Thank you, Ms. Olandi. It was an excellent session, and there were excellent responses and questions. I want to appreciate everyone that has been here. This is day one, and we all enjoyed it. We will be having no vote of thanks today because day two is tomorrow. And if you have your agenda with you, we'll be starting same time. I want to use this opportunity once again to thank the membership and leadership of AfICTA as we embark on the 11th summit. Day one is a success, and it's all thumbs up and a round of applause for everyone who has gone beyond and above to ensure that these sessions back to back were very interesting. Once again, a shout out to all our sponsors, for all that they have done and what they are still doing. We appreciate every one of you. Don't forget the team is transforming Africa's. I'm getting so excited. I closed my page. Don't forget that we are still on the topic of transforming Africa's ecosystem through, something is coming up. Okay. Yeah, they're trying to help me. Yeah, through digitization for development. So, and one way or the other, tomorrow by 9 a.m. UTC, yes, 9 a.m. UTC, we'll be back here. So call one and tell someone to tell someone. We're here at AfICTA at its 11th session discussing vibrant issues and challenges, and also looking for resolutions in ensuring that Africa becomes better through digitization. On that note, if technical has no information for me, on that note, in the next 5 minutes, the room will be closed, and I'll be expecting you tomorrow. See you, and let's take a picture together. All cameras, come on. We're taking a picture. Day one picture. All cameras, come on. Let's switch on our cameras. Yes. And technical, you're on laptops, I presume, so please take our pictures. Tambo, please, we need your camera up. Paul, we need your camera up. Switch on your camera, smile, Dr. Sabri, we're expecting your cameras to be on.
Okay, so I'm trying to promote people to be able to, panelists to be able to share their video, maybe in the next 30 seconds.
Okay, we'll wait. Okay, like technical has informed, they're trying to promote most of us, so that we could be able to have a group picture online. Please. Oh, I have my Ogas here from FinTrack. Oh, I didn't know that. My apologies. My big apologies. Oga Bimbo, you're welcome. FinTrack is here. And yes, of course, we always have mentors and fathers. You know yourself. Fathers and mentors, you know yourself. Thank you for coming. Please switch on your camera. We need to see your beauty, pretty face. Okay, so Oga Bimbo Abioye, good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are. Dr. David Njoga, I expect your pictures. The video is up already. Oh, Ariola Kieni, oh, great to see you here. Okay, so technical, it's over to you. I'm just going to be smiling to the camera.
All right. So I still have some more of our good standing members and panelists who are still trying to join in as panelists. So I'll give another 5 seconds while we conduct the
5
session.
seconds. Because I saw Dr. Gibson switched on and switched off again. We want to see his handsome face. You
know. Anybody notice I took off my jacket?
Thank you, Paul Rooney. Excellent session. Really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Okay, so I was still trying to put on our cameras. I believe technical has taken pictures.
Okay,
yes, yes, technical. Yeah, we see you. We see you. Yeah. Once again, we want to appreciate you on behalf of AfICTA for everything you have done. We thank you for ensuring that we kept to time. In some places, we'll do better tomorrow. And everything, the video link will be sent at the end of the program. So we look forward to your excellent work.
All right, so we're going to take the photograph now. At the count down from 3 to 0.
Yes, very good photograph.
3, 2, 1, and 0. So we look forward to seeing your faces again tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Okay, so please join us tomorrow. We'll continue the discussion, transforming Africa's ecosystem through digitalization for sustainable development. Our call time is 9 a.m. UTC. Do not miss it. Before we close for today, we say big thumbs up for all our exhibitors, our sponsors, and we will be closing with a virtual session to say thank you to all those that have sponsored us. Thank you so much and have a blessed day. Oga?
Thank you. Right, let's go to this. Share this.
Ways of entering ICANN is to walk into a meeting where you're encountering acronyms that mean nothing to you, or you're trying to understand arcane processes that you've never seen before. And the only antidote for that is to hook up early with another BC member that speaks your language, shares your culture. And I can promise you the BC member that's there to help you will explain some of these intricacies and complexities so that you can better appreciate why it's relevant to your business.
Thank you so much. Certainly this is a very welcoming community, and there are plenty of mentors, including the two of you, I should think. And so thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for telling us a little bit about the business constituency.
Thank you.
What does ICANN do? To reach another person on the internet, you type an address into your device, a name or a number. That address must be unique so computers know where to find each other. ICANN maintains and administers these unique identifiers across the world. Without ICANN's management of this system, the domain name system, or DNS as it's known, we wouldn't have a global, scalable internet where we can find each other. Within ICANN's multi-stakeholder model, civil society and internet users, the private sector, national and international organizations, governments, research, academic and technical communities are all represented. ICANN's community-driven policy. To keep pace with dynamic technologies and rapid innovation, ICANN enables consensus-driven, multi-stakeholder policy development with broad representation from the global internet community. Competition and choice. From accrediting over 1,000 registrars to introducing new top-level domains, ICANN works to expand consumer choice by fostering competition and innovation in the domain name marketplace. Which functions does ICANN coordinate? The domain name system, Internet Protocol Address Allocation, the Protocol Parameter Registry, root server systems, generic top-level domain name system management, country code top-level domain name DNS, and time zone database management. Security and stability. ICANN supports DNS security through technical training and engagement, coordinating and collaborating with the community in the implementation of standards such as DNSSEC. Interoperability. ICANN's work enables new technologies to flourish while maintaining interoperability across the global internet. For example, management of the unique protocol identifiers allows communication using secure connections between users. Contractual compliance. ICANN oversees the contracts it maintains and enforces consensus policies developed through the community-driven process. ICANN's contractual compliance function seeks to ensure compliance with the agreements and the consensus policies. Who's involved? A number of groups, each of which represents a different interest on the internet. All of them come together with the board of directors. The supporting organizations on addressing, country code names, and generic names. The advisory committees, at large, governmental, the root server system, security and stability. And the technical advisory bodies, the Technical Liaison Group, and the Internet Engineering Task Force. How do I participate? Sign up for updates at myicann.org. Join one of the many public comment forums on ICANN's website. Attend ICANN's public meetings in person or online to provide input at a public forum. Or join one of ICANN's supporting organizations or advisory committees.